happens when that people say that if I want to look at other images, which are one is of course the basic images that we offer on the portal. If we have to go beyond that, there's something called as VM Depot, is where you can go and look at all the different virtual machine images which are non-Microsoft, and all the different flavors of it. So there are plenty of ways in which you can go ahead and build your own environment. Yeah, so you can actually, you can browse through the VM Depot, and if specifically to particular Linux flavor, let's say CentOS or Ubuntu, and you can have a hardened environment which has been already created by the community and ported there, right? So you can choose to use VM Depot. So there is one way. So if it is either on the gallery or you have it on premise and you bring it on Azure and start using that as an image, or you can look at VM Depot if it is a one portal which helps you. Yeah. Another question that comes very often: I am not using Hyper-V on premise. I have got a VMware environment. How do I port my virtual machines to the cloud? You have to convert them once, and then you're good to go. Now, all these things brings to one more very interesting question, which I'm sure a lot of people ask, and that is about data security, right? So when it comes to security, how can I be sure that my data is secure? How can I be sure that what are the compliances that you abide by? I'm going to put everything up in the cloud. It is not in my premise anymore. How can I be rest assured that things have been taken care of? These are the general questions that we get a lot. Okay, so I would definitely like to answer them by showing you where you find answers for them, so that you for yourself can look up in your own sweet time and read more about it. So there's something called as windowsazure.com. It's a website, windowsazure.com. You go there and you can see right from pricing to this pricing calculator as well. Right from pricing, how my virtual machines are priced, to how my websites are priced, and you can see that for every service that I spoke to you about, right? App services, data services, compute services, etc. You have pricing details. You can go ahead and look for those. Second thing that I get a lot of questions about is security, right? So there's something called as, under support, there's something called as Trust Center. So you can go ahead and look at what all we follow, right from the compliance point of view, right from the auditing point of view, right from the security measures point of view. Everything is up there. So you can go ahead and explore that. It's called as Azure Trust Center. Just search for Windows Azure Trust Center and it will take you here. It'll tell you that what all ISO standards we follow, as I said, penetration testing, and you can see for yourself that what do we do for Azure security, for network security, for encryption, for every single detail has been put up out there. Okay, so right, as I said, right from security to compliance, right? So compliance, a lot of questions come up, depending on the industry you work for. So if you work in the pharma, maybe HIPAA is one of the big compliant thing that we're looking at. It could be, if it is some other industry, it could be PCI or it could be SOX. So we have published everything up on the portal. So just look at windowsazure.com, that's our website, and or look for the Trust Center. This is where you get all the details. We are SOC 1, SOC 2 compliant, attestations, Cloud Security Alliance control matrix, what we abide by. So lot of accreditations and lot of compliance that we go through every now and then. This is not it. We also from a auditing point of view, we of course do our self-auditing and find out if there is any area of improvement, and we also do third-party auditing. Right? So third-party auditing happens very often, and those details are also uploaded here. So if you are looking at Azure and you have any of the doubts about security, or trust me, if I don't keep my data centers secure, if I don't abide by privacy policies, I will run out of business. So we are not in here for any kind of data. So whatever you put there is yours, and we definitely don't go ahead and look into that. So rest be assured. And therefore, I wanted to bring this up as the first thing, because you might have the questions. Please refer to Windows Azure Trust Center, and you will find your answers. Okay. Now, you can see that where all we keep our data. So this is another thing that people ask for. These are the places where we have our data centers: United States, Europe, Asia Pacific, and Japan. And United States has got 4 regions: Virginia, California, Illinois, and Texas, and likewise other places. So there is enough information available for you to go ahead and look at. And as I said, EU has European Union has very strict data protection policies. We abide by that, Harbor framework, etc. So safe harbor framework, I mean. Okay, so there are enough things for you to go back and look at if you really have questions about security and privacy. We take it very seriously, and you'll find all those compliance and security policies, frameworks, coherence that we abide by up there for your consumption. Okay. Now, this session is, I can see some of the questions which are very specific to specific technology, etc. This is just to introduce you to what Windows Azure is all about. Okay. I can very well talk about a lot of other things, but in the interest of time, we're going to keep it to introducing you to the Windows Azure. Right. So this is how the Azure Management Console looks like. All of you can go ahead and subscribe for a free trial version, and so the first windowsazure.com, if you go, you can subscribe for a free trial subscription, and you get a 30 days free trial or $200 of expenditure that you can actually go ahead and try things out. So if you are a developer and you want to see how you go ahead and start, if you want to know that how do I start working, or for let's say data, or for anything else, we have solutions. So it's the best thing. I'll walk through and tell you all the services, but it's the best thing to go ahead and start using for yourself. And as I said, a free trial account is up for grabs, so go ahead and subscribe yourself there. Now, this is one way of managing. So this is the foremost and easiest way to manage your Azure environment, which means, or Azure subscription as we call it, is that I connect to this with my Live ID, and I'm good to go. If you're an organization and you want your employees, you want to purchase X dollars of Azure for 6 months, and you want your employees to start consuming from that there is a provision for that as well. What I'm showcasing right now is more from an individual point of view. Okay, so if you are a developer, if you are a startup, if you are an infrastructure person and you are getting started with it, this is the first thing that you connect to. You get to your management portal. So what this management portal will give you, you can actually create your website, manage them. Okay, so if I have got a website here, I can go ahead and look at the dashboard, and it will tell me how things are happening on that particular website, whether it is running, if there is any kind of configuration change that I want to do on that particular virtual machine, in that particular website, I can do that. So you can see it is running on the .NET Framework version 4.5, PHP version 5.4, and a lot of things. WebSockets are off. If I want to make any changes, I will simply, once things are up and running, I can come here and make the changes, and we'll be good to go. Likewise, virtual machines, cloud services, HD Insight. HD Insight is our offering for BI or big data. For big data, you can actually go ahead and create an HD Insight cluster and get started, which means that all the processing will happen at the Azure end, and you just get the analytics of it. You don't have to set it up on your premise. Yeah. Storage, very interesting. You can actually go ahead and create your own storage account. Storage account is nothing but creating a contour kind of thing, and say that please put all my all this X project related files and virtual machines there. I have seen organizations using it for one storage account for important application, one for test and dev, I've seen people using it, in various ways. But please do create a storage account before anything else, because if you don't, you will see that you get all these alphanumeric portal, VHD, blah, blah, blah. So what happens if you don't create a storage account and define that while you're creating a VM or anything else, it will create a random generated account, and later when you have so many of them like I do, it becomes very difficult to identify that which storage is actually storing that particular website or virtual machine. So that is the best practice you should always follow. Now I'm just going to showcase that how easy or difficult it is to create anything or getting started on Azure. Now even before that, how do we store data? We store data in blobs, binary long objects. That's one of the recent ways of doing data storage, and we follow blob storage. So everything gets down to blob and tables. So if it is a database, it is tables, etc. Otherwise, it is blob. So let me do one thing. If I go there and show you the dashboard, you can see I have got blobs, tables, queues. So depending on, and I can see if I have got any containers there. That's the way you start managing and starting on the storage front. But why I'm talking about this, because this is one of the things that I've seen people just not starting using it the way it should be. So if you start with your Azure trial subscription, please go ahead and create a storage account first. It will not charge you anything, it's just a contour. So you give it a name which you can make sense of it later, right? So if I have got a SQL always on storage, so if I connect on my SQL always on, I know that my SQL always on database is residing here, right? I can of course build a SQL always on Azure. It is absolutely doable, supported, etc. Yeah. Now let's go ahead and start building something. So if I start building something, and you can see it's context sensitive. I was in the storage, so I said new. It is giving me options to go ahead and create under data service, right? I can go ahead and create a SQL database or a storage, simply a storage account, or it could be recovery service for my data backup, etc. Or I can go ahead and choose something else. So let's say I choose to create a website or a virtual machine. How easy or difficult it will be? Let's see. So if I go and choose to create a website, I can either quick create, custom create, or from the gallery. Okay. So I am not a website designer. So maybe I will simply see that what kind of frameworks are available, and I can pick and choose and later make modifications. So these are all different kinds of frameworks that are available on the gallery. I can go ahead and choose which one makes sense for me, and I can get started. Okay, it is as simple as that. There are also templates on the left hand side. You can see that. Right? So it says if Drupal Commerce Kickstart, because I'm going to build a website which will have a shopping cart, I might want to incorporate this framework. I'll give a URL. I'll give that which region I want to put that in, and I'll be good to go. So I'll say maybe East Asia or Southeast Asia, and I'll say that whether I want to create a new SQL database for this, or a new MySQL, or I already have an existing database, and I'll just put that thing up and we are good to go. That's all. That's all that is needed, right? Now you might have noticed that you have started creating a website and it never asked you which OS, which IP address. No, because if I'm creating a website, I'm using it as a platform as a service, which means Azure will provide me the platform, all the platform which is needed, and I am only worried about my own website design, my how I scale it, how I architect it, right? So platform has been taken care by Microsoft in this case. Okay. Whereas the other situation could be that I choose to create a virtual machine, which means I choose to create. You can see I have a lot of images up there. Ubuntu, CentOS, etc. So let's say I simply stick to Windows Server, and that's what I'm good at. So I'll simply connect to, I say I want to create a virtual machine here. Here it will start asking me all the questions, right? It is asking me what is the size of the virtual machine, and you can see that I have got many sizes for the virtual machine. Why? Because I'm going to charge you based on this. If your workload is going to take not too much of CPU, you might want to go ahead with a small, if it wants more, you go ahead with more. Of course, you can pick and choose what makes sense for your workload. But since you are going to build on top of it, it is giving you choice to decide what is going to be the size, how much memory, how much CPU. Yeah, I can choose any one of them. I can give a virtual machine name, etc., and I get started. What I really wanted to highlight here is that if you are going to use Windows Azure as infrastructure as a service, you have to build your infrastructure foundation first, which means if I'm going to create a virtual machine there, I as an administrator or the IT head should know that what this virtual machine is going to do, whether it is going to talk to any other, if it has to, do I want to keep it in a subnet, etc. And that brings in virtual networking. So I can go ahead and create a network up in the Azure and and define that all my new test in their virtual machine should be connected on this subnet and they talk to each other, and you have better control. You can take it to the next level by defining some more networking features. I'll talk about that in a while. Now, very quickly, if I give it a name, let's say and I will never take admin as a username, so I'll use my username, let's say. And I say next. Okay, so what I've said, I want the virtual machine which is medium in size, and it is asking me that whether I have any kind of cloud service that I want to connect to, or I want to simply create a new one. For me, it's a new installation, and I will choose that whether I will choose either from a region point of view, or I go ahead and choose from a virtual network. I already have some virtual network, and I already have some affinity groups. I can choose, let's say I want to keep it in a network which I already created. Okay, these things, as I said, that there's so many things that we can talk about Azure in a detailed deep dive discussions. Today is more to just tell you that what it offers. What I wanted to simply convey in this particular demonstration is that if you are building your workloads on top of virtual machines on in Azure, you have to define your network first. You have to take care of firewall policies. You have to define that which subnet will talk to whom, etc. Right? So if I have already created a virtual network, I simply selected that, and it is telling me that this is the subnet that your virtual machine is going to connect to, and you get an IP address from that. And it is also asking me that whether I want to store the VHD of this virtual machine in an existing storage account, or I want to create it automatically generated. Of course, I don't want. I will say that this is the one, and then I will define whether I want availability set or not. Now, that brings us to a very important aspect of it. I'm not going to create a virtual machine. It will take 5-7 minutes to complete, and it's not a big deal. I'll say next and we are done. What I wanted to showcase is how it is done and some more concepts. Now, that will bring me to the deck again, and let's talk about it, because that is one of the very important things that people ask about. That you say that things will be always on, how will they be, right? So how exactly we provide availability? From a storage point of view, as soon as you build anything on Azure, you will have 3 storage copies of it. Okay, so if you build a virtual machine, it will have a 3 storage copies, which means one storage goes bad, the other will be consistently synchronized, and it will connect to the VM, and it will keep on running. 3 instances, 3 copies of storage runs in the same data center. That's how we provision it. Okay, which means that your data will always be available. Yeah, and you can also choose to geo-replicate it, which means that I have a Singapore data center, I have got my virtual environment running or my websites running, etc. And I want to geo-replicate that to the next available one in the geography, which is Hong Kong. Which means that I might want to have one more data set there, which means total 6 copies running. If something bad happens to this complete data center, I have geo-redundancy built in. Okay, and which is just as a fraction of, so if 3 copies you get by default, and if you choose to go with geo-redundancy, you will have a little bit more, dollar value associated with it, but that's about it. It's not a big number, but of course you are occupying more storage, so you have to. So it's a choice that we give. When you are creating the storage account, which I was talking about earlier, that's where you say that whether this storage account I want to geo-replicate or not. Okay. So once it is geo-replicated, so first of all, let's understand that you are running one virtual machine and it has got three storage. If one storage goes bad, doesn't matter. The other storage the virtual machine will connect to. Okay. And if you choose to go with the geo-redundancy, we will actually put it across another data center which is at least 500 miles away, so it will take care of any catastrophical failure, etc. Now what does this mean? Does this mean that if you don't have geo-replication, you will not have data availability? No. Even if normal data availability, we give a 99.9% SLA. Therefore, we keep 3 copies of data all the time. But if I have that, does it ensure that my virtual machines are always available? Probably not. If I have just one virtual machine, it might have 3 storage. So storage is always available, but for virtual machine, if I want to keep them highly available, I have to put them in availability set. So what I'm trying to bring to your notice is, if you are building your own infrastructure on the cloud, it is very important and essential to define what you want. If it is a virtual machine, test and dev, I create a virtual machine, it has got 3 copies of storage, I'm good enough. But if it is a production environment and it is going to be very important, I definitely will not run it in one virtual machine. That's how you do it on premise as well, isn't it? If it is a critical workload, you don't run in one instance. It must be running in more than one instance, right? So that's how we do it on the cloud as well. And one very important thing from a networking point of view, which I want to bring to your notice, is this, which means that you can actually extend your infrastructure to the cloud. In case you have on-premise environment and you want to your cloud subscription to come back and talk to your on-premise world, you can build a network between these two, which means I can have a site-to-site VPN kind of thing. Okay, which means from my data center I connect to my Azure subscription and extend, which means that at my on-premise level, I will define on the gateway routing mechanism, and it will route traffic between on-premise and Azure, which means Azure will become just like my branch office, isn't it? I will simply put my new virtual machine, new workload, or whatever I choose to on the cloud, and they can come back and talk to each other, which means I can very much have my applications up there which I want to authenticate again my Active Directory on-premise. I can do that, right? But it's a good idea if you have too many applications on the cloud, you might want to run an Active Directory there, which means inside a VM, or you might want to look at Windows Azure Active Directory. I'm sure by now you have got an idea about how much you can go ahead and look at from Azure, how much it offers. I just touched base upon 2 things today, only websites and virtual machines. And there are just so many services which are available. So I absolutely urge you to go ahead and look at windowsazure.com. On the portal you get a lot of information, and we are also hosting a conference in Bangalore. So those of you who are in Bangalore, it's a good time to actually join us. So I'll just share the details. So WindowsAzureConference.in is our website. You can go ahead and register. It's happening this Thursday, Friday in Bangalore. With that, I'm just going to open the floor for questions, and I can already see that there are quite a questions in there. I will just read them and go one by one. Okay.
Thanks for the insightful presentation, Pracheta. Let's quickly take up the question as you have just mentioned. I